Hey, this is Tyler with Survivalpedia. I'm going to talk to you about the traditional way to make char cloth. A lot of people use Altoid tin cans and stuff like that. You don't have to. There's another way. Stick with me and I'll show you how. So, a little while ago, I busted a coal with a hand drill. I've got an Apache match right here that I've carried some coal with me to a new location. And I've got somebody's pants that I found out in the desert. I'm gonna make some char cloth out of this. Now, what is char cloth? It is just plant-based material burned without a lot of oxygen, not to completion, right? Turn it into char. So a lot of times what you would do is you would take some sort of plant-based material. Punk wood works good. You don't want to use hard stuff like this because when you throw a spark at it, it doesn't have the minute fibrous open spaces for the spark to land and catch, and it doesn't work as well. And char cloth or cloth in general does have that, so it works really well. If I don't have an Altoids tin, what I can do is I can put this in the ground with a little dirt on it, burn a fire above it, and then pull it out when I'm done. Or I can just catch it on fire until it's got some good flame and then use another piece of something, and in this case I'm just using a bandana to put it out. So first off, I got to get my Apache match from coal to flame again. And I got to start burning my pants. This is literally a pair of pants I found hanging on the side of a fence on a stream crossing a while ago. Someone had just ditched their britches there. No, I don't want to burn the whole thing, but I got to get it burning enough that there's a usable chunk of char material here, so I can use flint and steel to ignite the next fire, as opposed to, right now that's kind of burnt. I'm going to use it to put itself out, right? So I just kind of closed it over, burn this next piece. You can see how it's starting to burn. I don't want it to burn completely. Give it air to catch it on fire. Lay it down to put itself out. I'm gonna move this out of the road. And when we get to the point that it's mostly well burnt, you got some good char material in there, not too much. All I'm gonna do is just put it out, okay? If I give it too much oxygen, right? This is just makes it dirty, but not bad. If I give it too much oxygen too quickly, it's gonna burst back into flame. That's why I had to pat it down. Now, this is bursting into flame, as you can see right there again. So what I'm gonna do to keep that from burning further, suffocate it of oxygen. Completely kill off all oxygen until it is completely dead. Maybe even throw a little dirt on it. Kill that oxygen so there's no coals. Because it, just like this piece of coal right here, if I reintroduce more oxygen to it again, that heat that it's got latently in will burst it into flame. And notice that I did that without burning my bandana, because I want to use my bandana for evaporative cooling effects around my face, my neck, my head, to carry stuff in. They're super valuable to have about 4 or 5 bandanas available to you. Okay, let's kill this one. Now that that's out, come back to this in a minute. There is still fire here. I'm not done with that. But now this is out, I'm gonna get a piece of steel and show you how to start a fire with flint and steel. You can use the back of your knife, but you're in essence taking a rock, smacking it on the back of the knife and busting little chunks of steel off, and ferrous or steel mixes with the oxygen in the air and makes a spark because it's flammable. Rust is an example of a slow motion flame, if you will, where iron is oxidizing and mixing with rust or ferrous is oxidizing and mixing with oxygen, causing rust. So we're basically speeding up that process. The reason I tell you this is because if you spend a lot of money on a knife, you don't want to bust it up. Just buy a cheap little piece of steel that you can smack against a rock and you'll be able to throw sparks off. However, if it's not properly tempered and it's not hard enough, it won't throw a spark. It's kind of like if you see a dirt after a lake has evaporated, you see those chunks of metal that have, or chunks of clay that have hardened up on the top. The metal is kind of that same way. Once it's dense, you bust those chunks off and they mix and oxidize. This stuff right here is loose. It's not tempered. This dirt isn't compact like those clay patties after a lake has been removed. So if I were to knock chunks of this loose, it doesn't bind as well. It's not the best example that I've seen, but it's kind of how my brain works. So I like to say those hardened pieces of clay that have curled up are similar to hardened steel. They break off in chunks easier. This dirt is similar to soft steel. It kind of just molds or doesn't break off into pieces in the way I want it to. So let me pull out a piece of flint and a piece of steel from the depths of my bag here. So I have a little chunk of hardened high carbon steel. It's an emberlit fire striker. It's the little wolf one. I think that's pretty cool. And there's a little bit of technique that you're gonna want to get down before you try to bust the coal. And that is, remember, the hardened chunk of rock is breaking pieces of steel off. So if you hit it at a flat angle, you're not really doing yourself any favors. You want to hit it at an increased angle so it will cut the chunks of steel off. And you want to hit the edge of it, not the center, so that you can peel these little chunks of metal off, right? Notice there's a few, let me redo this. If you don't have a sharp edge on your rock, you can grab another piece of rock or an antler or something and press it off. In this case, I'm just going to use the striker. And that will basically flint knap a sharper edge back onto your rock so that you can start pulling steel off again. So once I've done that, see, now I throw a few sparks. Okay, so sit and whack at it until you get the right angle and you throw sparks. It's gonna take some time and effort. It's not something that you just do quickly. I do it quickly because I know where I need to hit it and I just hit it. So having said that, now we gotta bust an ember out of this char material I just created from those pants. I can try to start this whole thing on fire by throwing sparks at it, or switch my hands and throw sparks downward. I can hold it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold the spark or the flint in the center of it, just like that. So if I get a spark that goes up, it'll hold there. If I get a spark that goes down, it will hold there. And all I'm trying to do is to get a spark that touches that and add it to a little light. Add it to a little wind, and then that's going to create the ember. From the ember, we add it to a nesting material, and from the nesting material, we get a fire like we've got going on right here. So, start throwing some sparks. Oh, got one right there. So it fell backwards right here. It's hard to see in the daylight, but there's a coal in there now. Right there's the coal. So all that I'm gonna do is take this chunk of burning stuff, add it to some juniper bark. I didn't prepare it beforehand because I was not thinking. Getting a big old coal now. The other thing is you don't want to waste all your material. So once this is burning, cover it up again, because I can use it to start another fire later, all right? From a pair of pants, I created char cloth. from char cloth and flint and steel. I busted a coal. I created the char cloth without the tin by just covering it up when I was done. You can use dirt, you can use more. If I had a big pair of pants, I can burn one leg and put the other leg over the top until it's cold. And then I flint and steeled a spark into the char material and then put the char material on a nest. Okay, that's how we used to do it back in the day. A piece of flint and a piece of steel, not to be confused with a ferro rod. Ferro rod is not flint and steel. Flint and steel is flint and steel. Hopefully that's valuable to you. If you got a technique for fire starting that's interesting or new that you haven't seen, leave it down in the comment section. If you've got stuff that can help me to do this better or teach better, or if you've got questions, leave comments below. Hit that subscribe button. I'll try to reply to all the comments, and thank you for watching.